Welcome to the School of Computing, Engineering and Built Environment, Learning Development Centre, Induction. During this session we're going to cover an overview of the LDC provision and support, plus international student support too, the academic year structure, differences between school, college and university, timetables and independent learning, assessment, exams and coursework, lectures, tutorials and labs. We're also going to cover academic performance and how to gauge where you are, plagiarism and the GCU Code of Student Conduct, the process of Fit to Sit, ICT at GCU, brief overview, disability support, classroom etiquette, online etiquette and how to be successful. We love acronyms at university, so the LDC is the acronym for the Learning Development Centre. The LDC is staffed by a team of experienced academic development tutors, ADTs, with particular areas of expertise and skills aligned with the support required for students in each school, because each school does have its own Learning Development Centre. And we provide students with academic support to help them maximise their potential in areas such as academic writing, international English support, mathematics, ICT and general study skills. Basically, we want to help you to meet your aspirations and to become effective, independent, lifelong learners. So let's meet the LDC team. We have Melanie, who specialises in academic writing and language support for international students. Sally specialises in support for college pathway and articulating students. Josiane and Ursula specialise in academic writing and dissertation support across the programmes. Then we have Callum and David who provide mathematics support. And there's Jim, myself. I specialise in general study skills and ICT skills. I mentioned international student support. So we also provide dedicated support to enable students whose first language is not English to cope with the demands of studying in a different learning and teaching environment. You will have the support to develop your language skills and your academic skills and to help develop into an active and independent learner. The LDC also provides a series of Happier Wednesday workshops, one-to-one sessions and online resources. And talking of resources, we have a lot of resources on our website. And we have resources inside GCU Learn in the school organisation, and that includes weekly online workshops scheduled for Wednesday afternoons. And students can arrange to see a tutor on a one-to-one basis or in small groups, on campus or online. And our email address is askldc@gcu.ac.uk. Question: how long is an academic year? No, it's not a trick question. Right, so here we have trimester A and B. See, trimester A starts and it's 12 weeks of teaching, a break across Christmas and New Year, and any formal exams related to trimester A will take place early in January, across roughly 2 weeks. Then trimester B, so there's a short break after the exams, and then trimester B starts and it runs for 12 weeks, followed by a 1 week study break, and then any formal exams from trimester B or from modules that run across trimester A and B with a formal exam will take place end of April, start of May, spread across about 3 weeks. Now, if you have a programme that has taught classes over the summer, again you'll have another 12-week trimester, followed by 2-week exams. The majority of undergraduate programmes in the School of Computing, Engineering and Built Environment don't have taught classes over the summer, so the summer is the time to pull back on any resits. So any resit courseworks for trimester A or B would take place during the summer, and any resit exams as a result of failing one in A or B will take place in 2 weeks that have been put aside in August. So you do have a chance to pull back if you've had some resits. Okay, moving on. Heads up, 12 weeks are going to fly by. I mean, 12 weeks sounds like quite a lot right now as you're hearing this, but in no time at all it'll be Christmas. So get stuck in, get grounded, get organised and get on with the hard work. It's only for 12 weeks. So what's the main difference between school and college and university? A very simple difference is that school and college, what you need to know is given to you. You're effectively spoon-fed exactly what you have to know. At university, you'll get pointed in the direction of what you need to know, but you actually need to go and get it. Let's touch on some examples of that. You need to find out how your modules are going to be assessed. Is it going to be a combination of exams and coursework, or just coursework? If a module's got a formal exam, how do you find out when and where it is? If a module is coursework, what type of coursework is it? Because there's more than one type. Where is it? Where are you going to locate it? When is it to be submitted or completed by? If a module is a class test, again, when and where is it going to take place? Is it online? Is it on campus? So let's start off with some academic essentials. If you start off from the main GCU homepage and you select hamburger icon up the top right hand side and then go looking for current students and then select academic essentials. That will bring up a list of items that are academic essentials. So I'll highlight some of them. So the one at the top there, policies and procedures, sounds quite boring. However, it does have the GCU Code of Student Conduct and also the Fit to Sit policy as well. Could be useful to know. Further down, timetables and term dates, definitely useful to know. Next one down, exams, definitely useful to know again. And the other one I've highlighted there is modules. So if you want to find out how your module is going to be assessed, then that's where you look, the online module catalogue. And last but not least, if you want to access GCU Learn, you can access that from here. GCU Learn is your VLE, your virtual learning environment, where all the information for your module will be kept for you. When you log into GCU Learn, you will see your modules, you'll be attached to them, and you can access them to see what the module team have put there and find out about other things to do with assessments and general learning material. So timetables and independent learning. Well, at university you might find you don't have scheduled classes on every day of the week, or even schedule classes for every hour of any day you're in. However, if you want to be successful, you need to make effective use of your non-scheduled time. So here's an example timetable. As you can see, the Monday there's a 2-hour gap, roughly early lunchtime. Tuesday, a late start, with another break right after that. Wednesday, no classes in the afternoon. Jump ahead to Friday, no classes at all in this case. So that looks great. So for the next 12 weeks, you've got a long weekend. How good is that? However, you're here to study, you're here to learn, you're here to be successful. So you need to look at these gaps in the timetables as opportunities. Opportunities to study. Because as we'll cover shortly, you can't just attend classes and expect to pass. You have to take time to study. In fact, it's even written into your module descriptor, roughly how much time you're expected to study a module over the 12 weeks of the trimester out with your taught classes to be successful. And don't forget, take time for lunch as well. So students are expected to study out with the campus too, in the evenings and even weekends if required. It definitely isn't possible just to turn up for classes, not study and expect to pass. I've been doing this job a long time, and I can assure you every year many students have tried this approach and failed, and they spend the summer doing resits. It's better to do the work during the 12 weeks of teaching than it is doing it in the summer when you could be enjoying yourself. And every module has a descriptor that does include expected total hours of independent learning required to fully understand the module. And here's an example. So this module descriptor, I've highlighted there the independent learning. And that's basically saying for a typical self-study hours for a standard 20 credit module is approximately 9 hours per week. The PT and FT is part-time and full-time. As you can see, there's no difference. They still have the same amount of hours. So part-time would be like day release. Then if you take that and you look at each trimester, you're probably doing at least 3 modules. Sometimes you're doing more because it's a class as a half module, it's a 10 credit module. However, as a minimum you'll be doing 3. And that then suggests that you'll be required to do 27 hours of study per week out with your taught classes. Now, that's a lot of hours. Do people actually do that? I suspect probably not. However, the more inroads you make into that, the more likely you are to be successful. So assessments, exams and coursework. How will modules be assessed? Well, typically they're assessed in 2 ways. One is a combination of a formal exam and coursework. And the coursework could be more than one piece of coursework under that general heading. And there'll be a weighting applied for the overall mark. So you might find the exam has got a 70% weighting and the coursework's got a 30%. Or it might be 50-50. You have to go and check it out for yourself. And the other way to assess is coursework only. But coursework is a big word that covers a whole range of things. So within that you'll have assignments, class tests, online tests, practical work, or a combination of all or some of these. And with coursework there'll be strict deadlines for submission. If you miss the deadline, date and time, then it will be 0 marked. So how do you find out how your module will be assessed? You can use the online module catalogue, where you would search for your module descriptor using the module code always use the module code. It is the individual identifier for your module. You can get module titles that are very similar, but the module code is always an individual thing. And from that you can then read the assessment criteria. So I've got an example here. This particular one, it shows 2 pieces of coursework and a written exam. So coursework 1, coursework 2, each weighting of 15% each, and the written exam is 70%, and also tells you the written exam is a duration of 3 hours. So if you have a module descriptor that looks like that, you know you're going to have 2 pieces of coursework during the 12 weeks of teaching, followed by a written exam after the end of the trimester. And I'd like to point out, you must pass every assessment to pass the module. It's not a case of the aggregate mark. If that's over 40, say, that's a pass. That's not the case. Every individual piece, each individual coursework here and the written exam all have to be passed individually to pass the module. So formal exams, right? A reminder, trimester A, formal exams take place in January. Trimester B, end of April, start of May. Trimester C and the reset exams take place in 2 weeks in August. Now, I mentioned class tests already. Generally, class tests do take place during the 12 weeks of teaching. So if you're getting something during the 12 weeks of teaching that feels like an exam, it's not, it's a class test. However, some module teams do run class tests during the formal exam diet. The clue in there is the class test will not appear on the formal exam schedule, which we're going to talk about shortly. The details will be in GC Learn. So, a module's got a formal exam. How do you find out when and where it is? Well, about 6 weeks into each trimester, the university publishes an online exam schedule containing information on exam date, time and location for every exam, online or on campus, for the whole of the university. And students need to search the schedule using the module code to find the exam details. That's why it's really important you make sure you use the module code. If you use the title, you could select the wrong exam, turn up the wrong exam to find out that the one you should have taken has already taken place. Always use the module code. Can't emphasise that enough. And also, just to let you know, online exams take place via GC Learn. Here's a snapshot of an exam schedule. I've highlighted the top line there. You can see, if you look across, it says, is exam being held on campus? The answer is no. This is an online exam. It tells you it will take place on that date, and it gives you a start time. It doesn't give you a finish time, because the details for that will be in GC Learn. So you would typically log on to the module at that date and time, and the online exam would be revealed to you electronically, and you would then work on it and submit it by whatever method you're told to do. If I move further down, the one in blue there, you can see that's an on-campus exam. So yes, it's held on campus. You get the date, you get a start time, you get an end time, and you also get told which exam room that's going to take place in. Lectures, tutorials, labs. Right, a reminder, when you attend classes, you swipe in. Use your student ID card to swipe in on the wee machine as you just come in through the door. It's very important you attend all lectures, tutorials and labs. Attendance is monitored, and that's whether it's online or on campus. If you come into an online lecture, that is recorded and it goes against your attendance. And poor attendance is followed up. A fact, stating a really obvious thing here, students who attend all the classes have a much better pass rate than students who don't. No surprise there then. So let's talk about lectures. In general, lectures are big class sizes. It can be over 100 odd students. The reason for that is one module can perhaps be common to a number of different programmes. So therefore a large number of students attend the same lecture. Now in a lecture, questions are not encouraged. There's just too many people for one lecture to deal with during a Q&A session. The lecturer has got a fixed amount of time to get their subject across to an awful lot of people. And from your point of view, you have to learn how to listen and take notes and pick up which points are important in a lecture. Now, in tutorials and labs, these are different. The class is split into much smaller groups. They're a bit more intimate that way. Tutorials and labs are where questions should be asked. Most of the time, it may not be the lecturer that takes the tutorial. It may well be another member of the module team. What I strongly encourage you is never leave a tutorial or a lab with an unanswered question. This is definitely the place to ask them. Don't be afraid to ask the questions. You're here for your degree, and that's what the tutor and staff are there for, to answer your questions. Academic performance. How can you tell if you're doing well or not? Well, here's a simple guide you could try. I'll bring up the old archery target there. And what I'll bring up is really how honours are classified. So if you're an undergraduate and you get to your honours year, all the work you've done up to that point gets rolled up to a single number. If that number turns out to be 70 or above, that's a first class honours. If that number is 60 to 69, that's an upper second class, otherwise known as a 2-1. Then you have 50 to 59, that's a lower second class or a 2-2. You've got 3 bands there, 50 to 59, 60 to 69, 70 above. What I'm suggesting to you is that as you start getting results in from coursework, from exams, from class tests, early on if you're in first year or if you come in third year, you're looking at these results, in fact to be honest, all the way through first year to whenever you finish. You can look at your results and you can gauge just by these sets of numbers here how well you're doing. If you're consistently getting 70 and above in all the work you're doing, then you've cracked it. You've slotted into university beautifully. And if you can continue to keep that level of performance up, it's highly likely you're going to be very successful. If you're getting 60 to 69s regular, or even the initial when you start, again, that's a really good start. You might get to a stage where you think, yeah, I quite like this, but I quite like to be a first class. What can I do to get even better? 50 to 59, I would say, if your results are coming in there, you're in the kind of low-level alarm zone. It means you haven't quite got up to speed at university yet. You really want to be getting away from that because you're quite close to the borderline where things go downhill. Because below that, you have third class honours, 40 to 49. I've never heard of an employer yet advertising for someone with a third class honours. So 40 to 49, you should be looking for help. And obviously, if your results are coming at less than 40, you definitely need to ask for help. If you find that you're not performing at the level you hope for, do something about it. And that's if you're doing well but want to do even better, or if you're not doing well at all and want to do better, then ask for help, and your Learning Development Centre is a good place to start. And just for a bit of information for you, the minimum assessment pass mark at undergraduate level it's 40, and at postgraduate level it's 50. Plagiarism. Plagiarism and the GCU Code of Student Conduct. Right, the GCU Code of Student Conduct lays out the expectations of positive student behaviour and what happens when those expectations are not met. So according to the code, plagiarism is the unacknowledged incorporation of the academic material, published or unpublished, of another person or persons. So basically you've stolen someone else's work and you're trying to pass it off as your own. Or it's the reuse of a student's own previous written work or data presented for assessment on a previous occasion, known as self-plagiarism. So you're taking work you've done before and trying to pass it off as new work. So self-plagiarism. Both of these are not good. Some more examples. Using another person's academic material, that's writing, drawings, ideas, data, without reference or acknowledgement. Summarising another person's written material by changing some words, altering the order of presentation without acknowledgement. So again, stealing someone else's work, moving a few words around, changing the order, trying to camouflage it, I guess. Again, that's plagiarism. And then ghostwriting. Ghostwriting is where you basically pay someone else to do the work and then you submit it and claim it's your own. These are all very serious indeed. So in summary, the GCU Code of Student Conduct is very relevant to you. I strongly encourage you to make yourself familiar with its contents. I covered where to find it earlier on. It's not a thrilling read, don't get me wrong, and I certainly wouldn't encourage you to read it from the start to the end in one go. What I would suggest you do is locate it so you know where it is, and then read through the table of contents. You'll get an idea of the things it covers, and that way at some point in the future, should something come up, you'll know where to look and where to get a bit more detail on the topic you're looking at. So, reminder, consequences of plagiarism are very serious indeed. In the pretty severe cases, really serious ones, it could end up being kicked out of university. However, you can avoid plagiarism by making use of the readily available GCU resources to help you avoid it. And that can be through the Learning Development Centre and also Cite Them Right, which is hosted in the library, on the library website. Fit to Sit. Unusual title this because it's kind of inverse, but we'll talk through that. Right, so what happens when exceptional, serious, acute circumstances occur that genuinely affect preparation for an assessment, or a student's ability to undertake an assessment and or submit a coursework in time. So you're taken ill, there's a bereavement in the family, something happens that you're going to miss an assessment, or you're going to go to an assessment and not perform well because of poor health, ill health. Well, when a student believes that they are not fit to sit or fit to submit, they can advise the university using an online fit to sit form. However, there is a window for that, and that window would be 5 days before the exam or coursework submission date and up to 2 days after. So 5 days before, up to 2 days after. So what happens when a student submits a fit to sit form within that window? Well, if work had already been submitted or already taken the exam, so you're into the 2 days after by then, what then happens is it's automatically accepted and the work will not be marked and you won't get any feedback for it. The key thing is here that the number of attempts for that work or exam will be preserved, because if you worked on something, submitted it and it failed, you would typically reset it as a second attempt, and the number of attempts you get are limited. You could potentially run out of attempts if you fail often enough. So in this case, if you've submitted it and then if the work or exam was as a first attempt, the attempt remains as a first attempt. If work was not submitted or an exam was not taken, then the number of attempts will be preserved again. So it will be held, in this case of a first attempt, will remain as a first attempt. I'd like to point out, fit to sit should only be used in exceptional circumstances. Only in exceptional circumstances. There are limitations to using it as well. It can't be used in the same assessment more than once. So for example, if it's used for an exam in trimester A and you have a resit in August, you can't use fit to sit for that resit. So just be very careful how you use these things, to be used sparingly, not as a tool or a toy to get around doing an assessment. If you're not sure about whether you should apply for fit to sit, contact your programme leader, your tutor, the Learning Development Centre, but remember the time is important. 5 days before, 2 days after. So where is the fit to sit? Well, again, if you start off from the main university homepage, click on the hamburger icon, then click on Current Students and Academic Essentials. You can drill in a little further and you find Exam, and when you highlight Exam, finally you get there, fit to sit. This is also where the exam timetable can be located as well. So a few clicks away. Okay, moving on. ICT at GCU, a brief overview. It is a brief overview because you should already be aware of a lot of this stuff. Because when you registered with GCU, an email was sent to your personal email address that included instructions on how to access PICTI. That's short for Pre-ICT Induction. And in that you'll get support on, it's a self-help thing, work your way through it. Help, passwords, GCU Learn, student email, online at GCU, Microsoft 365, at home software, timetables, library, GCU campus, multi-factor authentication, remote labs, feedback, completion and more resources. And I'd like to point out as well that in the university, every student accessible PC in GCU has TikTok installed. No, not the TikTok you're thinking about. It's short for the ICT on campus. And again, if you log into a computer in the uni, it's accessible by a student. That can take you through a self-help work-through thing on help, Wi-Fi, labs, printing, saving work, Microsoft 365, apps anywhere. We'll touch on that shortly. Plagiarism and Turnitin, student services, relaxing spaces on campus, and again, feedback and completion. So I'll point out a couple of things for you. Student emails. Student emails always end in @caledonian.ac.uk and your username comes before the @ The staff emails are slightly different. Ours are a username followed by @gcu.ac.uk. Now, there's a lot of stuff here on the current student side, but ones I'll point out here. GCU Learn, Student Portal, My Service. So email, can access your email from here. GCU Learn, that's again the VLE where all the information on your modules is. The Student Portal, very useful. At the end of each trimester, you'll be able to access that to see what your results were, grouped by module. And at the end of trimester B, you'll also be able to see the assessment board decision and your overall results for the academic year through trimesters A and B. And also, if you're unfortunate enough to resits, again, you can do that in September. The My Service is where you ask for help from the IT team. OneDrive, Microsoft Office 365. While you're an active student at GCU, you do have access to 1 terabyte of OneDrive space that you can access from inside the university, anywhere you get, and outside, anywhere you've got a link to the internet. And it's a very useful place to save your work, so you don't leave a pen drive and a PC somewhere with all your dissertation or whatever. If you store it in your OneDrive, you get access to it, and it's safe. You also, as a student, you've got access to the full Microsoft Office 365 suite, and you can even install it. I think it's up to 4 versions on your own devices at home, whatever. When you're logged into a GCU computer, PC, you can access OneDrive and Microsoft Office using the cloud icon at the right side of the bottom toolbar. Apps Anywhere, mentioned that earlier on, really good resource. Over 100 apps that can be streamed to your laptop, to your home computer, whatever. And you may well find that this year, as a new feature brought in, that your module leader may actually build up a playlist of apps inside your GC Learn modules that he recommends you use. Very useful, this, very useful indeed. And another one I'd like to touch on is LinkedIn Learning. And you can access that through the library. Go in through the library and then you go into online resources, LinkedIn Learning, and after a bit of logging in, you'll eventually get to the massive LinkedIn Learning library. It's a massive, very, very professional set of educational videos. Covers a huge range of things from Microsoft software, all the different packages, things like procrastination, mindfulness, management, projects, just anything you can think of. Have a look in there and you'll find a really professional course, and it's all free as long as you're a student at university. So moving on. Disability support. If a student declares a disability on their university application, the Disability Service assesses the student's needs, basically arrange an appointment, and from that the required adjustments are put in place to support them with their studies. For example, if a student has been diagnosed with dyslexia, as a minimum they'll certainly get an extra 15 minutes per hour in exams, so a 2-hour exam will become 2.5 hours. If they required a reader and a scribe, that will be set up in a separate area. So all these things go in place automatically, effectively, if a disability is declared on the university application. I'd like to point out though, disability support given in school or college is not automatically put in place at university. Basically, we don't know what support you've had before you came to us. It's a blank sheet unless you've declared it in your application form. So if a student has a disability and didn't declare it because perhaps they thought it was automatic, then they should contact the Disability Service as soon as possible to arrange a needs assessment and to get the required adjustments put in place. Now, the last case I'd like to mention this is, the fact you're at university, you may well have a disability, but it's not held you back. You may well say, well, I've got this far, I've obviously done well enough to get into university, my disability's not been a problem. I would strongly encourage you to reconsider and contact the Disability Service and get assessed anyway. The simple fact of the matter is you get assessed, the requirement adjustments could be put in place, and you may never have to use it. But it's wiser to have that support in place just in case you do need it. Because remember, university's different. It's different from what you've been before. So it may well turn out that your disability may actually hold you back. So declare it, and you may never have to use it again, but at least it's there, the support is there, just in case you do. Classroom etiquette is a strange one, we've been asked to include in induction. I think the theory is that people appear to have forgotten how to behave in a classroom, thanks to working at home due to the pandemic. Let's cover some basic points. Classroom etiquette, a bit like online etiquette we're going to cover shortly as well, all comes down to showing respect to others, as you would expect others to show respect to you. So as an example, you're running late, you turn up for class late. Well, when you get there, enter the room and make your way to a desk quietly. Show respect to all the other people that got there on time, show respect to the lecturer who's perhaps talking at the time. Do it quietly. Don't just walk in like you own the place, clatter around and disturb everyone else. You're late, make as little fuss as possible, show respect to everyone else, the other students and the lecturer. If you need to leave a class early, let the lecturer know at the start of the class, and again, leave the room quietly. Showing respect. Mobile phones. Right? We all love our mobile phones. Quite often see folk out, not so much walking dogs anymore, but they're walking their mobile phones. somehow get a crossroad without getting run over. Right, you're in class to learn. I encourage you, put your mobile phone on mute or perhaps even airplane mode during classes. If you are expecting an important, and I mean like a life or death important phone call, let the lecturer know at the start of the class and when the call comes through, if it comes through, and quietly leave the room to answer it. Answering the phone, having a conversation in a class full of students and staff is showing no respect for anyone else. How do you like it if you were one of the other students? Right? So, respect. And then, of course, we have social media. Dearie me. Can you not give it a rest for the length of a lecture? Right? What is more important, your studies or the latest gossip? What's going to get you the job that you want? What's going to get you the career that you want? Is it the gossip? Or is it going to be focusing on your studies for that hour or two? And last but certainly not least, a common sense one here, comfort breaks. Take them before or after a class, not during. You might well miss a really important point. It's a bit like if you go to the movies and you're getting to a really, climax of the movie, the big reveal, and you have to head off to the loo. Do it before you go, or after, not during. Okay. Right, online etiquette. Again, it's all about respect. So, communicate with others online with courtesy, politeness and respect. Communicate with others the way you would expect them to communicate with you. Courtesy, politeness, respect. If you wouldn't say something to someone's face, certainly don't say it online. I strongly encourage, if you're thinking of sending a message, review what you've typed before you hit send. Could your words be misinterpreted? If it's an attempt at a joke, who could it offend? Perhaps the right thing to do is not to send it at all. So always review what you've typed before you decide to hit send, or not. Respect the privacy of others. Don't share someone else's personal details without their permission. Just as you wouldn't expect anyone else to share your personal details without your permission. And last but not least, remember, if it's on the internet, it's everywhere. Don't put your safety and security at risk. So, how to be successful? The points I'm going to bring up are incredibly obvious, very straightforward, but let's cover them anyway. Starter. Attend all the lectures, tutorials and labs. There is a very strong correlation between attendance and success. Submit your coursework on time, because if it's late, it's 0 marked. Pass everything. Stating the obvious, I know. Preferably first time, that way you're not doing resits at the summer. And get into the study habit that you study constantly, all the way through the semester. Schedule your studying, and get into that habit now. You're new at university, then the habits that you develop now, the effective, efficient study habits you develop now, will see you in good stead for the rest of your academic time at university. So study constantly, not in bursts. And communicate difficulties quickly. If there's issues coming up, don't suffer in silence, ask for help. So if you get a problem, talk to someone. Your programme leader, your year tutor, your student association advice centre, your learning development centre. Talk to some member of staff, and if they're not the ones to help you, they will certainly find someone who will. So it's really important you communicate if things go wrong. Remember, you are not alone. We're here to help you, but you need to tell us. Okay, right, just about finished. So we've covered the overview of LDC provision and support, plus international student support. We've covered the academic year structure, difference between school and college and university, timetables and independent learning, assessment, exams and coursework, lectures, tutorials and labs, academic performance. Remember the 50-59, 60-69, 70 and above, or less than 50. Right, and plagiarism, and we covered the GCU Code of Student Conduct, Again, recommend you find it and at least read the table of contents so you know where to go should something turn up. Fit to sit, we'll cover that. ICT at GCU, given a brief overview. Disability support, classroom etiquette, online etiquette, and finally, how to be successful. If you get any questions on anything covered in the session, feel free to email at askldc@gcu.ac.uk. And I wish you every success in your time at university. Thank you.